What's up, everybody? This is Passion 9, and today I want to talk about Konami. I want to talk about Konami, the game company that I have grown to despise more and more over the years for various reasons. Partly because they ruined one of my all-time favorite gaming franchises, Silent Hill, and also because they fired Kojima, the mastermind behind the Metal Gear Solid series, and hindered the development of Metal Gear Solid 5, canceled Silent Hills, the one remaining chance that that series had to make a comeback. They canceled that game after showing us an incredible teaser, a playable teaser, that they also took offline, and yeah, they canceled that as well. They've done a lot of shitty things over the years to a lot of beloved IP, those two in particular. And, about a week or so ago, they released the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection. Now, originally, I had a plan here to stream all three of the games included in that collection, or four or five if you count the retro top-down Metal Gear games that come with that collection. But whatever, three Metal Gear Solid games included in that collection, and I was gonna stream them. I was gonna stream them for November. I thought to myself, okay, I don't want to. On one hand, I don't want to give Konami money, and this is where this started with me. Is I don't want to give them money. I don't want to support a company that continues to destroy these old brands that I loved so much. These old licenses that used to be in the hands of creative, passionate people, and now are just being milked out for profit and nothing more. I don't want to support that in the game industry. I never want to support a company that is running a franchise into the ground soullessly and without any vision or passion or anything. So, on one hand, I thought to myself, okay, screw it. It's the Metal Gear Solid collection. It's a collection of old games that they've left untouched. They didn't do anything to them. They didn't censor them or remove anything. As far as I know, this collection is still. I mean, the only bummer is that Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 in the collection are based on the Blue Point remasters that came out for PS3 a while back, and that HD collection wasn't the best. There were actually a number of issues with both of those games that Blue Point fucked up when they tried to up the frame rate of those games, and it led to lip syncing issues. The lip syncing was all off. It led to a lot of graphical oddities and issues that the original PS2 versions did not have. So that wasn't the best HD remastering, but whatever. Putting aside those issues I have with this cheap cobbled together collection that they have, that is based on that old HD collection. It's not even a newly revised collection. It's just, they're just ports of the old collection anyway. But even putting that aside, I was still willing to play these games. I was still thinking I was going to do it. I said, fuck it. I don't want to give Konami money, but I'll do it anyway because I love these games. And if they didn't mess with them, they didn't do anything to them, what's the problem, right? I mean, get to play Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3 on modern consoles. How bad could that be, right? But then they recently released Silent Hill Ascension, which was the first of this new wave of Silent Hill games that are supposed to resurrect the franchise, supposed to revive that license. And not surprisingly, it's a giant ball of shit. I didn't play it, of course. I wasn't even going to go near it because out of all of the new Silent Hill games they announced, even the one being made by Blooper Team, even the Silent Hill 2 remake, which I know is going to be shit too, but even that will at least be an actual game, even if I still have no interest in playing it. Silent Hill Ascension, just right out of the gate when they announced it, sounded like the worst thing. It just sounded like, okay, it's this online web series that people vote for different outcomes in a chat room, and it's like it just sounded like the most cynical thing. And of course, it came out. It's loaded with monetization. It's loaded with all kinds of shady bullshit. It's absolutely awful in every possible way. Uh, it just it might not only is it probably the worst thing they've ever done to Silent Hill so far, but it sounds like one of the worst things game related that Konami has ever done, which at this point is really something considering, Metal Gear Survive exists. I mean, I didn't think we'd get this low. Metal Gear Survive actually looks like some kind of masterpiece compared to Silent Hill Ascension, which is barely a video game. I mean, it just sounds like a money-making scheme. It sounds like a scam that just has the Silent Hill name stuck onto it. So that was a disaster at launch. Nobody had anything good to say about it, and I have no intention of looking anywhere near it. Uh, but that, of course, as even though I knew that was going to be shit, and even though it's far from a surprise that it turned out the way it did, it still angered me. It was a reminder. It was like just opening up an old wound. You know what I mean? It may be an old wound, but they opened it up again, and I'm just like, man, this series is so fucked. Like Silent Hill is so fucked. Metal Gear, even though they've announced this remake for 3, and I mean, even if it is just Metal Gear Solid 3 with better graphics, even if they leave everything the same and, it doesn't turn out as bad as the Blooper Team Silent Hill 2 remake is going to be, even if it's just a straight up, hey, we just upped the graphics of Snake Eater. Even if that's as straightforward a remake as it's going to be and they don't fuck anything up, I still don't want to support it. I don't want to support any of these titles. I don't want to support Konami anymore because at the end of the day, they're just an awful company. They're an awful company doing awful things with these games. Even Metal Gear, I mean, they haven't announced anything necessarily terrible yet that's going to ruin Metal Gear's legacy yet. I mean, Metal Gear Survive was so far the most offensive thing they've done with that series. But even if right now they're just doing revisions and remakes or whatever, uh, who knows what the future will be for Metal Gear? I mean, I just don't want to support it. I don't want to support what this company does with these franchises, and that's why I've decided I'm not buying the Metal Gear Legacy Collection. You know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to buy the PS2 versions of Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, or the PS1 version of Metal Gear Solid 1, and, you know, PS2 versions of 2 and 3, because I would rather own those, even if I don't have a PS2 anymore, even if I don't have a CRT TV to play them on. I would rather just have those in my collection just to preserve them as they were, when they were still great games, when they were made by Kojima and his team. I would rather just keep those games with me as a reminder that, hey, this was an awesome series at one time, but it's dead now and it needs to stay dead. Its creator, its mastermind, the author of the series is gone. He has moved on to other projects, and I'd rather see those projects and support those projects than support whatever Konami is going to do with its soulless corpse now. You know what I mean? It's not, the soul of the series is gone. Just let it go. Same with Silent Hill. They disbanded the original team that made those first 4 awesome games, and everything that Silent Hill related since then has been garbage. The one chance we had of an interesting new Silent Hill game made by passionate creative people, Hideo Kojima, Guillermo del Toro, Junji Ito, were all going to work on Silent Hills, and that was canceled. So, like, what we're getting now with that series, there's nothing, there's no sign of anything passionate or creative that's going into that series anymore. I mean, the only one I might have even a smidgen of hope for at this point, a smidgen of hope, would be Silent Hill F, which, judging by the trailer we got for that game, seems to have nothing to do with Silent Hill. It doesn't even really make sense to call it Silent Hill other than brand recognition, just because it's a well-known title. I mean, it's just some horror game set in Japan. It doesn't look anything like Silent Hill. But if it turns out to be a good psychological horror game in its own right, and it has a passionate small team behind it, it has a really good writer behind it, then, at least that won't be cynical. At least that's something I would support, even if it means having to give Konami money in that case. But that's the only thing that I can think of that might have a chance of being good with the Silent Hill name slapped on it. It would almost be in spite of that, you know? It would just be like, hey, something good came out of this. But that's the only one that gives me even the smidgen of hope. And otherwise, I could care less about anything Silent Hill related anymore. And that brings me to my final point in this video, and what I really, really want to discuss, what really needs to be discussed about why I'm not giving this company money, and why you shouldn't either. If you are a big fan of these franchises, if you ever loved these franchises, here's my advice. Stop being loyal to brands. Stop showing loyalty to brand names. Stop being loyal to the Metal Gear Solid brand. Stop being loyal to the Silent Hill brand, the Castlevania brand. Whatever brand, you know, these franchises are behind now, that have always been behind. The people that made those brands what they were to begin with, the people that made them special when you first fell in love with them, they're not there anymore. They're not creating these games. You know, it's just, it's like the soul leaving the body, you know? Are you in love with the flesh? Or are you in love with the soul behind that flesh? You know, these are brands. Metal Gear Solid is just a brand now. It's just a brand that Konami is going to profit from. They're just milking a brand. Okay, Kojima is gone. And I'm not saying I want him back to do more Metal Gear. I'm not saying, you know, I get it, he's moved on. That's fine. But you should move on too. We should all move on. We should follow what he's doing. You know, follow Kojima Productions. Follow that team that made Metal Gear so good in the first place. Follow, you know, the people that originally made. I mean, Slitterhead. Slitterhead is coming out at some point in the near future. It's made by the director of the original Silent Hill. Hell, that you're better off following whatever that team does now than following, you know, whoever's making Silent Hill now. You know, will you get the exact same experience? No, it won't be Silent Hill anymore. You know, Kojima's not making Metal Gear anymore. They're going to be different experiences, but at least the creative minds behind those games, behind those franchises, are the, you know, they're the ones you should be supporting. They're the ones you should be, you know, excited about and hyped for. But no, everybody I know is like, oh, new stuff with Silent Hill, awesome. I love Silent Hill. What? But it's not Silent Hill anymore. It's not the series you fell in love with back in the early 2000s. You know, that's gone. It's been gone for a long time. Homecoming, Downpour, Shattered Memories, those were all bad games with the Silent Hill name slapped on them for profit. You know, it was a cynical thing for Konami to do. They just threw that brand to all these different companies, usually hacks, and they're doing the same thing with the Silent Hill 2 remake. It's just they're taking that brand of one of the greatest survival horror games ever made, one of the greatest video game stories of all time, and they're throwing it to Blooper Team. I mean, fucking Blooper Team. They're a bunch of hacks. They do not make good video games. So people getting excited for the Silent Hill 2 remake, oh, it's Silent Hill 2. That game was great. Why aren't you excited, Passion? Why aren't you more excited for Silent Hill 2? It's a remake of Silent Hill 2. Don't you like Silent Hill 2? Yes, I like the PS2 version. I like the original. I like the one that was made by a team of very passionate, very creative people who gave a shit about what they were making and had the talent to back up their vision. Blooper Team does not have that talent. Maybe they have the passion, maybe they want to make something good, but they don't have the talent to pull this off. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. The little bit of footage we got from it, I don't care if it's finished footage, I don't care if it's not reflective of what the final game, the little bit of footage we got of their vision of Silent Hill 2 was already off. And if you couldn't tell it was off, then you did not understand that what made that original game so great to begin with. You know, you weren't paying enough attention because the original game was something special, and it could very easily be, a lot of what made it special could very, very easily be lost in the transition to a remake, especially with all the changes they plan on making to this game, with its combat, with its camera perspective, with its the graphical style they're going with. Like, everything they're doing is off. It's like, yeah, maybe it'll be playable, maybe it'll have nice graphics, maybe like, but the soul is not there. The soul is not there. It's not going to be there. And Blooper Team is the worst fucking company they could have turned to for this. You know, half of what they made before this were pretentious Silent Hill 2 ripoffs. So, like, you can't expect this to be good. And that's what I mean when I say stop with the brand loyalty. Stop with that shit. People are only hyped for this because it's called Silent Hill 2. That's it. They're not thinking about who's making it. I've told everybody Blooper Team is crap. Why are you excited for this? Oh, well, maybe they'll do a good job with this. Just because their last 5 or 6 games were garbage doesn't mean this is going to be garbage. Be more positive, Passion. Why should I be more positive? Their last their last handful of games were crap. They have not proven themselves. Why would I want them handling one of the most classic horror games ever? Why? You know, this is like giving The Shining. This is like having I'm trying to think of a shitty director. This is like having a really shitty director remake The Shining. Just think of the worst horror director you can think of. The worst, like the most schlock fucking horror director remaking The Shining. Okay? You can't just expect it to be as good. It's not going to be as good. Okay? It's not that easy. It's not that simple. People think remake, oh, they're just going to up the graphics. How bad could it be? No, it's going to be shit. It's going to be shit. It's going to be a hack job. And that's why I don't care for this whole brand loyalty thing. I just, it's gaming is an art form, which means that you should think about the artists behind these games. Think about the director. Think about, when you go to read a book, and there's a book series you really like, and the author isn't involved anymore. The same author isn't involved, and somebody else replaces them. Are you going to want to keep reading that series of books? Like what gaming's not that different. Yes, it's a team of people that make these games. It's not one person. But that team comes together for a single vision. And when that team gets thrown away and they're replaced with a bunch of hacks, it's not going to be the same outcome. Like you have to think about that. And nobody ever does. People just consume this stuff. They see the brands they loved, and they consume without thinking about it. Without thinking about, wait, who's making it? Nah, who cares? It's Silent Hill 2. It's got the brand. It's got the title I like. I remember that. It's not going to work out. Konami is garbage. They don't deserve your money. I'm not giving them money anymore. I'm not supporting them. You know what I am supporting? Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 just came out. I'm going to be streaming that this month. Screw Konami. Okay? Support a company like Remedy that actually has vision and creative ideas. Maybe their games have faults. Maybe they're not perfect. But I'd rather play those. I'd rather support and a company like that actually still has creative vision for what they're doing, that actually cares about the medium they're in. I'd rather support that than support Konami, even for this legacy collection of Metal Gear games. They're holding that series hostage. Why would I give them money for that? Why would I give them money? I want to support people who are making great video games. I don't want to support companies that are releasing garbage, that are cynical, that are purely profit-based and don't care about the artistic side of the industry. Support companies that give a shit, support companies that are making good games, and stop following brands. Move on. Metal Gear is dead, Silent Hill is dead, let's move on. Let's move on to other things, to new things. That maybe you'll enjoy just as much as you did when you first played Metal Gear or Silent Hill. Don't give this company money. They don't deserve it. They don't deserve our money. So I will not be playing the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection. I will not be playing Metal Gear Solid ever again. You know, I will pick up the PS2 versions. I will hunt down the original PS2 copies, and I will, you know, if I ever get the chance to play those, I'll play those. But I am never playing a Metal Gear game released by Konami. The current state of that company, I just won't do it. I won't do it. So unless something changes in a really big way, I have no intention of supporting them anymore. So that's it. That's all I've got to say. You know, if you care about gaming as an art form, put that money, you know, speak with your wallet. You can actually make a difference. You know, support the people that give a shit. Support the people that are out to make great games. That's it. That's all I gotta say. Fuck Konami. You know, fuck that company. They are the worst. They are one of the worst game companies out there right now. You know, they've betrayed their fans. They betrayed their IPs. They betrayed their legacy in gaming. And they do not deserve any support. That's all. Live for the passion.